Lesson 136. Review. Well, Catherine, here is the culmination of all their hard work. They now know all 5 cases, singular and plural, and so here's a chance to review it all in one big chart.
Hooray!
Yay. Confetti is exploding into the air in a festive manner. You have to imagine it. This is just an audio recording, so we don't have actual confetti. But if we did, we'd be sprinkling it all over the place right now, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so the nominative case is used for the subject of a sentence. That's the initial case you learn whenever you learn a new Greek noun is the nominative, or if you look it up in the dictionary. Also, if you have a predicate nominative and you say, this is that, Bob is a gardener, then the word for gardener there, that would be what you call a predicate nominative. And so that would be in the nominative case too.
Right.
Genitive shows possession, that something belongs to someone. The dative case shows the indirect object in a sentence, that is, the party that is benefiting or receiving. The accusative case indicates the direct object. The vocative case is for direct address. If you call out to someone, call someone's name, things like that. Now, that having been said, the descriptions of these 5 cases that I just gave you, those descriptions match what you have been learning in this book. But keep in mind that as you proceed forward in your career as a Greek student, you're going to learn additional case uses for each of these cases.
Yes, and that's something to really keep in mind because a lot of these cases have multiple functions depending on the context, and our listeners will get a lot of practice in the future and become accustomed to paying attention to the context and figuring out, okay, this is a genitive because of possession, or this is a genitive because of another reason that they'll learn later.
Right. I can think of about 3 or 4 other different uses for the genitive case right now. I can think of about 3 or 4 other uses for the dative. Accusative has several important uses. Not so much nominative and vocative, but definitely genitive, dative, and accusative. Those 3 have lots and lots of uses. So as you grow in your knowledge of ancient Greek, you're going to really expand your conception of what those cases can do.
Right. Nominative and vocative are kind of those one-purpose tools you have in your kitchen, or two-purpose tools. Like the orange zester. You can only use it for like 3 things. But the genitive, dative, and accusative are almost like one of those multi-tools.
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Because they just... Swiss Army knife, the thing that folds out and has like 6 different little tools in it. You just have to figure out what it is needed in that particular situation.
But what I wanted to do in this particular book is introduce you to the most basic use of each case so that you can get accustomed not only to the noun endings and the actual forms of the nouns, but so that you could really just get a basic grasp on what each one does. And then you'll find that as you go along, that some of those other uses for these cases, they're kind of like natural extensions of the main use of the case.
Yes.
They're not completely removed from these basic uses of the case. They are related. They're like extended uses.
Yes. And so it's essential to have that core knowledge of what a case does at the foundational level early, and then build on that later.
I want to send the reader away not only memorizing endings, but also having a nice grasp on how to use them to really have a good structural knowledge of a declension. And here's another thing, Catherine. Later on, when they learn the first declension or third declension, guess what? They already have a head start because they know what each of the cases does. They don't have to start from scratch learning what each case does. They already know that. All they have to do is learn the forms.
Right, because the nice thing about Greek is that even though different declensions have different endings for the cases, the case functions remain the same. So you don't have to learn a whole new set of cases or a whole new set of case functions for each declension. It's just new endings.
So in the first declension, which is mostly feminine nouns, you'll have a nominative, a genitive, dative, accusative, and vocative, nouns that do the same exact things, but you'll just have to learn the new endings. And then in the third declension, again, you'll have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and vocative. So you'll have a big head start when you approach those declensions. You won't have to start from scratch with the question, what is a declension? What are cases? You'll already know that. Instead, you'll be simply getting accustomed to a new pattern of endings